Hey, hi again, everybody. Dan John here from danjohnuniversity.com. This is podcast number 116, and that amazes me. Welcome, and we got some good questions today. Uh, there was a discussion on the forum, which led me to have a kind of a big forum post over there at Dan John University's forum. Uh, Recently, I made it's a slight change on paper, but it's a big change to me. But I went from this program I was doing, and real quickly, I do a snatch complex, I do a few other things, and then I was supersetting front squats with chains and squat snatch. Well, I'd found myself really just getting kind of not physically beat up, but like beat up mentally, and I swapped it for squat cleans and overhead squats. And it's interesting because that small change from front squat to overhead squat, from squat snatch to squat clean, just was so refreshing. Now, it got me thinking about a lot of stuff. One, am I Olympic lifting too much? I don't know about that. Am I? Is the snatch just too complex as as not only my warm up and conditioning movement, the snatch complex, but the technique of it. My shoulders were barking at me because this turnover from all those years of discus throwing, it adds up. But it's one of those things I'd like you to think about in your own training. Uh, I talk to a lot of people, and they'll go, well, actually, I think there's some value to this. I was about to say, well, they go from low carb to high carb, and actually, I think there is some value to that. But I think we all know the people I'm talking about, where they're on the muffin diet this month, and next month it's keto, and then the next month it's this, and next month it's that, and they never actually get through the first week or so. Those of us in training sometimes, I'm doing Wendler's 531, and then they're doing Warrior this or that, then they're doing Spartan this or that, and they never that they make huge changes, but not those specific. I hate to call it going from squat snatch to squat clean minor, but it's just an adjustment that allows me to have a lot of enthusiasm to get back in the gym again. So I guess my idea for you is that if you have yourself doing a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 day week training system, and it starts to flatten out a little bit, or you have concerns about overdoing this and that, don't throw the whole thing out. The cliche of the day, the baby with the bathwater, and it took me years to understand what that meant. But maybe something small. It can still be a hard thing. I think squat cleans are pretty hard, but sometimes just tiny little changes can make a huge difference in a training program. Over there at the site, I've got that workshop on programming. It's really quite big. Um, that might help you with some of these ideas, or just have I don't know, I hate to call it courage, but it seems like it in some ways, to have the ability intellectually and from the heart to just go, okay, this is going well. Here's a small change, a tweak, and maybe that's all I need. Yeah, I know it's completely obvious, and I'm sure some of you have already rolled your eyes twice, but it's something I keep rediscovering in my career, that sometimes a harder exercise uh, can actually help move your progress ahead, because you just get caught. So I think squat cleans are kind of harder for me than squat snatches, but it's got me enthusiastic again, and looking forward to being in the weight room here in just a few minutes, actually. So just an idea to start your day. Okay, we got some good questions, I think, today. We have a question from Scott. Scott's 62. He's lean. He's in good shape. He runs, he lifts, and he hits the heavy bag. Had a garage gym years before COVID and recently retired last December. Well, good for you. Everything's good, but I'm having a tough time focusing on sticking to one lifting plan. It's interesting because that was the opening monologue. If 5 days is good, 6 is probably better. But then there's 531. Ooh, look at that. Arnie twice a day split. Maybe circuit training every day is best, etc., etc. It's a kind of therapy to lift, but I need your sage advice. What, if any, benefits are there to keeping it simple? And how the heck would you, as a great coach, get me out to shut the monkey mind up? Well, when it comes to programs, I mean, I got to tell you, it's rare that I see a program from someone I respect that's just crappy. The other day, we're having a conversation about Greg O'Gallagher's Kinobody programs like the Greek God and the Superhero, and I look at those programs and I'm like, this is good stuff. And then I look at Rusty Moore's fat loss programs and I say, this is really good stuff. And I look at Jim Wendler's 531 and I slap myself on the forehead and say, this is really good stuff. I look at Tommy Kono's 3-day-a-week weight Olympic lifting program and I'm like, man, if we get people to do this kind of thing, So almost universally, Scott, programs are good. There are some garbage out there, especially whenever people try to really just beat the crap out of you, high stress, lots of, and I'll go to my grave regretting my article on Tabata front squats because I think I was part of the problem there. The high intensity stuff, the old Jane Fonda go for the burn stuff, which has been, 1,000 times worse than what Jane Fonda talked about. All programs are good. The question, young Scott, is within your head. And one of the things that helps me a lot, and I feel like I'm really selling my stuff today, but over at the site, danjohnuniversity.com, we have that goal setting course. But the thing I'd like you to do in the goal setting course is called the 5-2 assignment. And the first thing is, you look ahead 2 decades. That's the first 2. And for you, that'll be when you're 82. And I want you to come up with some ideas. I mean, you're just recently retired. Ideally, at 82, you'll still have some money. I hope you've got your debts paid off. And 2 decades from now, at 82, what do you want to be doing? And then the next thing is, 2 years from now, you'll be my age, 64. And maybe ask those questions: financial, physical, social. It could be something as simple as, is there a hobby or thing you always want to do? You wanted to write the great story of your life, or you write your poetry. 2 years out, if you're telling me you want to write poetry, and 2 years from now you still haven't put ink to paper yet, and you're just talking. And of course, for adults, we use 2 weeks as the next one, and then today and tomorrow. But what I'd like you to think a little bit about is the 2-decade one first for you, because I'd like to know what you're thinking about down the line, how you want to feel. I do like Art Devaney's point about training as an older person, is that vanity is a good thing. A lot of the people I've listened to and read the stuff on, bodybuilders in their late 90s and things, is that if you look good, you tend to feel good and move good past 80. So maybe there's some wisdom into what you said about Arnie's split, but that might be way over the top. I got to tell you, if you just did 3 whole body workouts, for the next 20 years, 3 days a week, whole body, and, had reasonable sets, reps, exercise choice, load choices, and I don't know, went for walks and had a nice, whatever you love to do, I don't know, water skiing or whatever you like to do on the weekends or weekdays. One of my favorite memories was when I met a guy. I had a day off and I went skiing one time, and he was a retired guy, and they don't offer anymore at the slopes, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday had a special pass that was only good Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and he skied all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday, all day Thursday, and then spend the next 4 days kind of recovering from that. And he got a workout session in to get himself ready, and that's how he spent 4 or 5 months a year. I mean, like, that's delightful. So that's what I'd like you to think. The 5-2 assignment first, and then from there, see what kind of comes out, and maybe in that little mental exercise, there might be a value. There might be something in your life that really rings true, and might help you with this sticking to program stuff. It helps me. I mean, it is, 2 decades from now, when I'm 84, I'd like to be able to play with my grandchildren. Leo's going to be 20. Danny's going to be 27, 28. I mean, who knows what's going to be happening then. So, but I'd like to be around to see it. So that changes a lot of decisions I make every day. Okay, I hope that helps. We have a question from Dan, and I like the way you spell it. It's the way I spell it. I am 35 and a personal trainer for clients 50 plus. However, my career, passion, pursuit is to perform on Broadway and be on the silver screen. I model my type after Hugh Jackman, Norbert Lee Butts, Aaron Tveit, etc. I've been close in many attempts, having worked off-Broadway, national tours, short films, feature films, and commercials. But I've yet to do the gig. Boy, I'd like to see. Send me some examples. You have mentioned briefly you work with the stage performance community, and that just lit me up. I'd like to hear more about that. Yeah. One of the nice things about having a good friend like Jeff Hemingway is that he introduced me to the Broadway crowd. Mark Fisher, of course. When I spent time in New York with him, you just bump into famous people the whole time you're at his gym. And then, of course, there's Rose Hemingway, who starred with Daniel Radcliffe on How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. Rose had a point one time that really helped me. It happened twice, same point. When we're leaving the theater for How to Succeed, she was swarmed with people wanting her autograph. We went around a block, and she says, no one cares. And then when she was here for Kinky Boots, she was a lead in Kinky Boots, she came out of the theater without all of her makeup on, and we went out to go eat, and she said, and I thought it was just strange that no one recognized her. And she said, yeah, that's the way it is. And we talked about what she had said before. I think one of the first things you have to realize is that, well, do me a favor, study fame somehow. Katie Couric has a new book out, might be worth your time. Heck, even that new book by Paul McCartney on lyrics might be worth your time, just to get a sense of the story of things. Just how, in Rose's case, she was just kind of lucky. Daniel Radcliffe looked at her and said, yeah, she looks like a person I could work with. And boom, there you go. You're trying to do something that a lot of people are trying to do, and you just have to be better. You just have to be better. I like the fact that you think with your body, but you just have to be better. With Jeff will tell you, I saw him do an off-Broadway play, The Fantastics, one time in a coffee shop that had just been closed down and turned into a theater. I saw him do stage performances at Lagoon, where he basically, I want to say 4 or 5 times a day did the same show. There's a lot, that's a lot of sacrifice. That's a lot to do. And that's what you're going to have to be if you want to make it in this career. You have to realize that fame is fickle, that you have to outwork your competition, but you also have to outluck them. And I don't know how to, I do believe that, the old thing that, the harder you work, the luckier you get. So the one thing that does help me in our conversations is they tell me about when you hit your mark, being ready to go. And that's helped me so much as a parent, as a grandparent, as a friend, as a coach. When it's time to go, you go. And even if you don't feel like it, you go. And that is a skill set that most people I meet just simply don't have. Hey, that sounds terrible, but it's true. That they want the uniform, they want the crowd, but they don't want the hard work that comes up with it. The other day I did an Instagram thing on, I do jigsaw puzzles, and I said an interesting line that I actually like. I had done a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, and on screen I put the last one in. And because everyone wants to look at the 1,000th piece, but really the work comes in on the first 999. So you have to make sure you lay down the work for those 999. And when it comes your time to stick in that last piece, you got to be ready to go. I don't know how helpful that was, but thank you. We have a question. We have actually 2 questions from Stephen. Would love to hear your opinion about weighted vests. I'm considering getting one to add a bit of variety in my cardio days and workouts in general. I'm thinking about doing some light walking, which is what I use it for, weighted pull-ups, dips and squats. Okay, yeah. Can you think of any other exercises, or maybe you don't see the benefit in getting them? Yeah, it's a real. I have them because I have them. Do I have 5 or 6 now? Uh, 2 were borrowed and never returned. Really nice ones. And no one knows for sure who stole it. We all have theories about who stole it. I loaned it to somebody and they never got it back. And I'm sure they use it to, keep their truck weight in the back. And they're really nice. Weighted vests, for rucking, I use my daughter's school backpacks. And now listen, they quit using backpacks maybe 10 years ago. And they're still good. You throw a weight in there and you walk around with them. I like the vests, but it's your pocketbook. If you can afford a good vest, I would get one. I would recommend and this is my experience, the ones that have the individual 1 and 2 pound plates. It's a nightmare. Every time someone takes them off, the plates spill out. And of course, what the manufacturers say, well, you got to do what we said. And it's like, yeah, I know. But in the real world, they spill out. It's like, someone told me that sandbags never rip. Well, every sandbag I ever had ripped. Now, I know that's not supposed to happen, but it's what happens. I guess, what I'm trying to tell you is get the bigger ones that can hold the bigger pieces of metal. It's a lot easier. The bigger ones don't slide out as much. Though honestly, a kettlebell and a school backpack works just as well. Things like pull-ups and dips, you're gonna have to try it on because it has to fit here. And most of mine fit like this. They're about this wide. Now the backpacks, pardon me, the backpacks, are a little bit thinner. You could probably do pull-ups and dips. It's just going to be one of those things, Stephen. If you can make it work, it works. I have vests. I use them a lot, and then I don't. Your mileage may vary. Here's your second question. I am lucky enough to have my own basement in which I can train in. Unfortunately, I am limited by the ceiling height, so cannot do overhead presses. I substitute these with kneeling kettlebell presses and seated dumbbell presses. Going outside is not an option as the Irish weather is usually cold and wet. I am starting to max out the weights I have for these 2 exercises. Any suggestions? Yeah, I was going to tell you do kettlebell presses and seated dumbbell presses. Since every single option I was going to give you kind of already squashed. I'm not a fan of seated military presses with the barbell, only because now someone's going to be online going, oh, I do these all the time. Yeah, right, whatever. It's real hard to get the weight up and then sit down, get your presses in, and then put the weight down. I did enough as a kid to know that I never liked it. Maybe just do higher reps, double kettlebell, double half kneeling kettlebell presses. I don't know. Seesaw presses, half kneeling. That would be really kind of a good one. Just some ideas. I don't have a perfect answer because you don't have a perfect situation. I wish people would just email me questions with perfect situations, perfect training programs, perfect equipment, and perfect bodies. But then I wouldn't have a podcast now, would I? Thank you. And good luck, and hopefully I'll meet you soon there in Ireland. We have a question from Jeffrey. He jumps right to the point. 58 years old, decent shape. Been working kettlebells for 10 years. Former SEAL and early Dan John University student got me into this. Have recently been focused on kettlebell snatches. Completed 100 snatch test in under 5 minutes with the 20K. Can do 100 snatches with the 24K in 10 minutes without too much struggle. Well, I'd hope so. If you can snatch the 100 in 5 minutes with 20, you should easily be able to do 100 with 24. Aside from doing snatches and more snatches, what base exercises do you recommend to improve my overall performance with heavier weights and higher reps with heavier weights? And I'm guessing that's with the snatch. Okay. Goal is 200 snatches with the 24 in 10 minutes. Not a very smart guy, so want to keep things as simple as possible, but understand that a systematic approach beats out just doing grunt work, or does it? Maximum work capacity is my ultimate goal. Well, if maximum work capacity is your ultimate goal, and kettlebell snatches might be helpful, but I'd prefer you do hill sprints, farmer carries, sled pulls, and prowlers. But um, I've talked about this before recently on a podcast with Pat Flynn. Um, the goal is 200 reps in 10 minutes. So my response always is, then we got to find a weight that you can do the 200 reps in 10 minutes. So maybe one of the things I do when I'm getting people ready for the RKC, one day a week at first we have them do a test. And in your case, we'd use half the weight, so 12 kilos. And we'd have you do the 200 snatch test in 10 minutes with the 12. And at the end of it, we make a decision. Is it your guns, your buns, or your lungs? And if it's your guns, you struggle with the lockout. You're just generally upper body weak. We'd have you do a lot of clean and press, a lot of clean and press, probably the rite of passage workout, and really get yourself just stronger. If it's your buns, then that would be maybe the 10,000 swing challenge. Finally, a use for the 10,000 swing challenge. That might be very helpful. A 20-day period. I would even say in your case, 20 days in a row of doing 500 swings a day. And by the way, the width to 24 would just be fine. I think there'd be some real value in it. And then if it's your lungs, well, then it's farmer walks, the prowlers, snatches and snatches and snatches. I'd like you to build up to there'd be some varying, waving week to week to week, but ultimately I'd like to have a workout something like this where you did 200 snatches with the 16, 200 snatches with the 10, and then 200 snatches with the 12, all in one workout, a very exhausting workout on like a Tuesday or something like that. Generally, I tell people this, 3 days a week, rite of passage. 1 day a week, you do the snatch test, where you do the 200 snatches in 10 minutes. And then the Thursday workout is a little different. If you're serious, this is what I'd recommend. With the 24, this is going to be tough. Let me see if I can do the math. So you do 20 left, 20 right, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, and 20. So right, left, right, left, right, left. 4 rounds of 20, 4 rounds of 20. And then the same, but 4 rounds of 15, 4 rounds of 15, 4 rounds of 10, 4 rounds of 10, alternating. And then jump up a weight like to the 28 or 32. And then do 4 rounds of 5 and 4 rounds of 5 alternating. So you're doing snatches tired. It's going to be a tough day. And don't worry about the number of how many minutes it takes. Just finish them up. But doing the rite of passage, at least 1 day a week, doing a test with a much lighter bell, and then the other day a week doing this 400 workout I just told you. That makes sure the math works. Just left 20, right 20, left 15, right 15, left 10, right 10, left 5, right 10. Just make sure it adds up to 400. And then do that for, I don't know how long the rite of passage you should do, maybe 8 weeks. Have a very, very light week and test yourself and see how it goes. And whatever, if you fail on the test, it's not failure, it's just a learning. Then get back to me and we'll change things around. If you make it, then you're done. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Hope it helps. We have a question from Phil. I've heard you urge caution with regard to the correct performance of one-arm kettlebell swings. What other exercises are on your list marked? If you can't do them right, don't do them all. Well, Turkish get-ups. Let's do this. Let's go kettlebells first. So one-hand swings, windmills, bent press, Turkish get-ups. Anytime you're dangling underneath a single kettlebell. Oh, here's another one. Two-handed kettlebell, two-handed snatches. I don't know why people do that. All you need is one mistake, and it's hard. I mean, I'm a good engine, and I know my techniques, and there'll be a bad rep where I'm dancing underneath the loose bells up there. Um, so in kettlebells, anytime you have single hand overhead with any twist in it, be very careful. I'm thinking through anything else. Um, single hand swings, single side kettlebell front squats, holding the weight on one side. Just don't twist. That's all. And that, I mean, I don't. And even then, if you twist the same direction both ways, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe that's not so bad. Barbells, yeah, bench press. Whoa. Bench press is the only exercise that kills. You should always have good spotters. You should always have really good equipment, and you always should stay well within yourself. Yeah, but that you could say the same about all any barbell lift. Um, Obviously, you'd have to be a little careful with like. That's why I like these new things called jerk boxes. They're those big boxes that are really tall. So when you do overhead barbell work, if something bad happens, it just hits, and it doesn't even damage the platforms anymore. Um, so barbell would be my big one in the barbell world. The bench press would be the big one in the barbell world. Um, Overhead squats, front squats, back squats all have issues, but if you appropriately build up and load up, I don't see a problem. Um, Hold my beer and watch this with deadlift variations. I just be smarter than that. When it comes to calisthenics, I think sometimes when people do these real fast push-up variations, or even something like the burpee or what we used to call the squat thrust, when you're going real fast and jumping in and out of things, just be smart, which is very unusual when you talk about the internet. From the brachiating world, yeah, actually it's weird about any monkey bars, pull-ups, things like that. As long as you listen to your body, almost universally, there's no issues with that. Yeah, so I hope that helps. That's just a short list. Um, but yeah, if you're not gonna, you really, Phil, we could just say if you're gonna be stupid, please don't come into my gym. And maybe that's the best answer of all. Thank you. I enjoyed that. We have a question from Patrick. Currently, I'm a 50-year-old guy. Well, currently, and next year that'll be different. And 205 pounds, and I maintain a high level of GPP. I have a structural leg length discrepancy after being hit by a drunk driver when I was a kid. I'm sorry. Due to the LLD, leg length discrepancy, I have had an adult life plagued by back issues, and I have herniated my L4 to 5 disc multiple times. Okay, we're sneaking up on medical advice here, but I'll do my best. Thankfully, I've never had to have this corrected with surgery, just proper rehab. And Patrick, hats off to you for proper rehab. That you don't hear that a lot. Lately, I've added the suitcase carry to my routine, and I've been feeling better. Yeah, and Stu McGill, gives high praise to the suitcase carry. Um, I have chosen to focus on lengths of 90 to 100 paces. I don't know how far that is, with a relatively lighter weight, 65 pounds, as opposed to using a heavier weight, 115 pounds, for 30 to 40 paces. Yeah, on the suitcase carry, I think I agree with you. I think going longer is a better idea than heavier, shorter, because a lot of people when they start the suitcase carry, so if the weight's in my right hand here, they start the suitcase carry, like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I don't know if that's good or bad. Question 1: do you know of anyone else with a structural LLD that uses the suitcase carry to stabilize their hips? No, but I mean, I think, if you feel like it's helping you, I mean, hats off. I mean, I don't get a lot of, people don't tell me their physical issues very much because I'll tell that's a medical issue, but I think this is good. What are your thoughts on going longer for better stability? I already answered it. I think that's really, really a good idea. Really a good idea, especially if it's making your injuries and your long-term problems feel better. That's great. Question 2: I have recently had to march in place with my suitcase carry due to the weather. Are there any benefits to walking forward with the suitcase carry versus simply marching in place? I haven't found one yet, but there's an added benefit of marching in place is slowing down. And the more you slow down to even stopping in positions, you know, boom, 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 something like that. That has great value. In fact, and I don't want to give you medical advice, but that might really be a good thing for you to just stop with one of the knees in a high position and alternate that. I have an article online. You can just type in Dan John vertical windmill and pardon me, vertical bird dog. I'm sorry, vertical bird dog, and I show you all the variations on that, and it might help. Thanks for sharing that. Man, that's trying to overcome something from childhood, especially in that scenario. It just is. It seems unfair, but thanks for being courageous and not only sharing your story with us, but finding ways to overcome it. Okay, we have a question from Josh. Can you explain how it feels or what a person has to go through after a lifting injury in later life? How do I deal with those ups and downs? Well, I would grab Maurice Ravel's song. It's usually half the side of an album, the Bolero. That's what I do. When I get injured, my first thought is dun, 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 bump, bump. And I just build up mentally. I just say, okay, it's just, okay. First, we're gonna get up off the bed. Okay, first we're gonna get up off the bed onto the walker. We're gonna get up off the walker and we're gonna go. We're gonna get on the walker and then to the cane. Then we're gonna get on the cane and then to the limp. And then with the limp, I'm gonna, and then I'm gonna walk longer. I'm gonna walk farther. And all of a sudden, another piece of instrument will come in. I'll start doing this or that. It's tough. One of the things that I'd like to say, you got to put your ego aside. And according to people online, I have a massive one. Yeah, well, I'm sorry. But you got to just stick your ego aside. And for a while, you just have to be consciously going. Every time I fall asleep, it means I get up and I'm one day closer to, I don't know, walking. When I get to bed tonight, when I wake up in the morning, I'll be one step closer to, the barbell, one step closer to driving on my own, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but being able to get in the car and drive to the store, it is just so, so releasing. So, yeah, that's how I do it. Listen to the Bolero, grab a Sudoku or a crossword puzzle or a computer chess match and put on the Bolero and let your mind drift for a few minutes and then listen to the Bolero again and maybe do that 5-2 assignment we talked about earlier. You find it over at the danjohnuniversity.com in the goals. Writing down those, what do I want to be like in 2 decades, 2 years, 2 weeks, tomorrow really helps. Thank you, and it's a tough question because I've been there and it's hard, but now that I look back, it just wasn't that big a deal. But at the time, it was. All right, hope that helps. Okay, we got a question from Kyle. We have a female listener, Kyle, here. I hope this finds you well. It does, and thank you for asking. I've been pondering a question for a few months. Pondering, I tell you. And it finally occurred to me, you may have some experience with this. Pretty much everything I have done at an elite level, particularly in my younger years, was fueled by having something to mentally push against. It might not be healthy. No, it's not. But what does health mean sometimes? It's the optimal interplay of the human organs. So if you're talking about mental health, I understand that too. But issues at home, the wrong relationships, toxic competitive environments, and so on can really fuel excellence. Yeah, it can. And I hate to say this to you, Kyle, but it's a rare elite athlete I've ever worked with that had a normal home life. Something almost always happened. I've worked with some genetic superstars that it was so hard to convince them to actually work harder. They didn't have that. They didn't have the drive that others did. Um, when you're young, you don't know how to get out of those situations, so you just channel the energy into something else. Exactly. Now I am healthy and happy. My personal family life, work life, community life, and financial stability are all pretty great. Well, good. And by the way, don't ever forget the connection there. There's a bit of an if-then, and I'm no therapist, but those early challenges have set you up for your success today. And embrace that and hold on to that. You know, it's a conversation I have with my friend Patrick a lot. You know, Patrick's a good dude. He'll point out these flaws that I have, you know. And one of the things I'll say sometimes, yeah, I get that. Yeah, I know. Normal people don't do that. But normal people don't step up to 402 pounds and try to clean a jerk. You know, normal people don't snatch 300 in meet. Normal people don't throw the discus 6 hours a day for, you know, years. But I tell you one thing, it sure teaches you some skill sets, you know, when you're 64. What I have found, though, is that there is an inverse relationship between my general overall well-being and the energy to do anything at an elite level. I'm working on finding that wellspring of energy in order to work from a place of happiness. My current thoughts is that a person needs to find deep clarity on what they are working towards rather than what they are pushing against. But I'm very curious about this thought of the matter. I gotta tell you, I'm not, and I'm sure some jackass is gonna say something negative in the comments because idiots always do. But once again, Kyle, this is that 5-2 assignment that's in the gold course over at the university. You know, this is what's helped me so much. Yeah, I have these massive. I'm not. You know, I have these massive financial and physical goals still, at age 64, and I'm looking down the line to really be a benefactor to many people, financially, and of course with my coaching and some other things, my writing. That's why it's so important to make sure you go, okay, I look at it as building bricks, okay? We're building the Great Wall. You know, every day is a brick, and I work to make tomorrow always. I work to make today better when I worked on it yesterday. This is my list of things I need to do. This is my to-do list for today, and you know, I always start this day with my to-do list tomorrow. I make coffee. It's funny, everything I have on my to-do list is right in front of me, and then every today I have that little pirate map, and then every 2 weeks or so, or 2 months, depending. Well, actually both in my case. I sit back and I say, okay, where am I on this little progress? And then I can look at this assignment and say, okay, 2 years ago when I was 62. Well, you know, when I was 62, it's funny. I feel like I've made massive. I feel farther ahead. I mean, this is an obvious point, but I feel farther ahead at 64 physically than I did at 62. I feel like I'm in better shape at 64 than I was at 62. I feel like I have more things together now than I did then. And then, of course, there's it's the 2 decades is the big one. You didn't mention your age. So it's 2 decades, 2 years, 2 months, 2 day, and tomorrow. 2 decades, 2 years, 2 months, 2 day, and tomorrow. Okay. It's called the 5-2 assignment, and it really helps me. And if you can find someone you trust to do the assignment with, it's illuminating. I have people do it at the RKCs, you know, so, you know, and because I've already built up some bonds in the hours and days together. If you can't find anybody, call me. We'll do it together, because I love these refresher courses. But it's got to be somebody who's a cheerleader for you. Someone who likes you, someone who respects you, someone you can trust. yeah, how do you say this nicely? Spouses aren't always the best because those relationships have so many levels. Um, I don't. Mentors don't always work well. Um, it's got to be someone who's kind of, and it can be someone who's in the worst condition of their life, who's doing terribly financial, who's having a horrific time, because that person might be very helpful with the whole thing, reminding you of how far you've come. Uh, Kyle, I hope that helps. I always enjoy answering this question, and it's just a joy hearing it from you. Wow. So there's today's podcast. I hope you liked it. Episode 116. Man, we're just pounding them out. Listen, if you have a question, email them to me at podcast@danjohnuniversity.com. You know, I do my best to answer each and every question. Brian and I had a very nice conversation about answering the same questions over and over again. And Brian made a good point that it is difficult to cull your way through my 2,200 videos that are on YouTube, my thousands of pages of writing. So I will continue to answer them and do our best. Thank you, and we'll talk again soon. Bye.